Thank you for tuning in to this live stream discussion of the upcoming Goddess of Stardom Tag League 2024 and a discussion of Meerkat Ultra's October video essay entitled Saya Kamitani, The Path to Hate. Nearly 100% of the Stardom roster will be participating in this lengthy tournament, which lasts until the month of December. Lasting over 88 minutes is one of the most ambitious video projects made covering a Stardom wrestler. So let's begin. We'll do our best not to deceive you. Welcome everyone to the stream. And once again, my guest is Meerkat Ultra. Meerkat, how is your day going so far?
Oh, going pretty good. How you doing?
Not too shabby. There's definitely a lot to go over. And this tournament, I think, has a lot of moving parts. And it's going to be basically lasting for the next couple of months. So there's definitely a lot for us to look at. I don't want to spend too much time pulling out all of the details, but I am getting more and more interested the more I start to do research on this.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, 1 second.
No worries. I can just kind of get us rolling. What we're going to be talking about for this stream, it's all good, is we'll very, very briefly talk about last year's Goddess of Stardom tournament. Yeah. Then we'll get into essentially sort of like the structure of this tournament, who's involved, what the teams are. It's actually 18 different teams, so there's a lot of people to cover. And then we can talk about, things that maybe have caught our eye or a little bit interesting to us. And then from there, once we wrap up sort of the Goddess discussion, we can get into talking about your video essay, which I'm very excited to talk about. And I'm sure it was a huge undertaking, so it'll be great to hear sort of your perspective on how that all went down.
Yeah, I appreciate that, totally. I'm definitely looking forward to the discussion, and I definitely am looking forward to talking about the Stardom League a bit, mostly just from a comparative standpoint, because I like how some of the team names are, and just how that goes. But go ahead.
Yeah, team names, team combinations, even the press conference that happened on October 16th. I definitely recommend people check it out on the official Stardom YouTube. I found it quite entertaining. So
definitely underrated aspects of the promotion that I myself keep forgetting to check out. But yes.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, let's jump right into things. So we're going to talk about, very briefly, as I said, last year's Goddess of Stardom Tag League 2023. All I really want to bring up is the fact that Divine Kingdom, the team involving Micah, who was at the time a member of DDM, and Megan Bain, who was unaffiliated at the time, ended up winning this tag league. They defeated Crazy Star, the team of Suzu Suzuki and Mei Sarah, who at the time they were unaffiliated. They defeated that team in the finals of this tournament. And so Micah is returning to the Goddess Tag League in a sense as a returning champion. She's also won this year's 5-star Grand Prix tournament. So before we jump into literally this year's tag league and the 18 different teams, I do want to talk a little bit in a contextual sense about some of the things going on this year that I think makes this tag league worth sort of inspecting or exploring. First of all, let's look at the Goddess of Stardom champions who have reigned this year in 2024. The beginning of the year, we had the Goddess of Stardom championship team Aphrodite, formerly of Queen's Quest, Saya Kamitani, formerly the Golden Phoenix, Utami Hayashishita. They held the belts at the beginning of the year, and their reign lasted until the month of March, where they were dethroned by Crazy Star, Suzu Suzuki, and Mei Sarah. That team held the belts up until the month of May. They were dethroned by FWC, Hazuki, and Koguma of Stars, who held the belts themselves until the tail end of June, where they were dethroned by a God's Eye team of Shuri and Konami. As it turns out, this was essentially a long form, like stretched out ruse by Konami, who simply wanted to backstab Shuri, betray her, and feed her to the wolves caused her to lose at the hands of Thekla and Momo Watanabe, which made Thekla and Momo Watanabe your current Goddess of Stardom champions. And Konami essentially jumped ship, joined Thekla and Momo's team, who were later to rename themselves from Oedo Tai to the faction known as Hate. So it's a little hard to track, but that all happened. And the other thing I want to bring up is not only the Goddess of Stardom picture, but the Stardom tournament picture of 2024, because we can have a lot of different discussions and opinions about the booking of Stardom, the character dynamics in Stardom, the many things. I would say personally that if we're looking at the tournaments themselves, the people involved in the tournaments, the matches involved in the tournaments, they've done actually a fairly strong job of presenting those things. So I just wanted to cover that briefly. We had the Rookie of Stardom tournament on January 3rd, 2024, which was won by Yuzuki. We had on that same night the Triangle Derby, which was won by, I believe the team name is Abarembo GE, which was a God's Eye team of Shuri, Mirai, and Amisore. Fast forward a little bit to the month of March, the Cinderella Tournament 2024. Your Cinderella winner was Hanan of Stars. And fast forward quite a bit to August 31st, the 5-star GP finals. This year's 5-star GP winner, Micah, now of EXV. So this is the lineage of the tournaments that have happened this year. I think the Goddess of Stardom tournament itself has a lot to live up to, especially because it's going to be lasting from this tail end of October all the way to the sort of beginning weeks of December. It is a long-term tournament. There is almost all hands on deck, with the exception of just a couple of people. Mina Shirakawa notably is not in this tournament. Xena is currently out with injury. She is not in this tournament. But I think aside from that, the entire Stardom roster is going to be essentially grinding through this, and only one team can be on top. So as we get into this, before we jump into this year, the nuts and bolts, all of that stuff, Meerkat, I'm curious, just to let the cat out of the bag, I am pretty sure that you are not the most, like, let's say, super excited about this particular tournament or sort of tag team tournaments in general. I have a question for you. Oh, sorry. If I may, is there something that they could throw into this tag league that would pique your interest or increase your interest? Or do you think it's just a case that the tag scene in general just isn't what you're looking for in terms of like this part of the year for Stardom?
So I think this is like weird to say because this year had a lot of really awesome Joshi tag team matches, like with like Suri versus Mayu recently, basically, like, for example, on Suriism versus Hash, or like even Natsupoi team in Suri, and like there's so many others actually. But for some reason, I don't know, tag team wrestling has never been my favorite. Basically, I don't know. Even though I grew up with the Hardys being what got me into wrestling, it's kind of funny. But like tag team wrestling for me as an interest is kind of just waned a little bit. I mean, sometimes you get some good stuff, and tag team wrestling as a format is a good way to like build a lot of drama, especially the restart drama as well. With both sides coming out really nicely. But I don't know. For some reason, it's just like, especially when you put it in a tournament fashion, it's just not as interesting to me. I suppose. I don't know. It could have come from the New Japan times when I was watching New Japan and not caring about their tag stuff. It could stem from that. But that doesn't mean there's not gonna be any good matches. As usually are. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you that this year there have just been bonkers tag team matches. A lot of those have been Goddess of Stardom title matches. So there's a lot to live up to in terms of our expectation of match quality itself. But I also think there's like a heavy weight on the shoulders of this year's tag league, because this tag league is going to occupy almost all of the events that Stardom has in the month of November. Aside from, I think there's a single New Blood show and there's the historic crossover event involving New Japan. But outside of that, the only stuff going on right now between right now. And Stardom Dream Queendom at the end of the year is this Goddess of Stardom Tag League. So there's got to be some type of events or discoveries that we see in these matches that are going to inform where Stardom is at the tail end of 2024. So let's just get down to brass tacks with this tournament. We're going to talk about the structure, the teams involved. We're going to just get into this year's tag league. The first thing we want to show is essentially how this is going to break down on the red side and the blue side. So I will actually remove this for a second. We've got a red side, a red block, a blue block. This is pretty par for the course with the Goddess of Stardom Tag League. 9 teams on either side. So 9 red teams, 9 blue teams. What is going to happen is we're going to get down to a top 3 on either side. 3 teams will get out of their blocks. We'll call them red 1, red 2, red 3, and so forth, meaning that red 1 is the best performing team in the block. On December 7th, we've got a semifinal involving all 3 of these teams, where red 1 will face the winner of red 2 versus red 3, and blue 1 will face the winner of blue 2 versus blue 3. Essentially, red 1 and blue 1 will have a bye. They will automatically be qualified for the semifinals, and they will await their competition. On December 8th, we have the finals of the Goddess of Stardom Tag League, where the finalists on each side, red versus blue, will determine our winner. So let's go ahead and start to look, and just to emphasize actually the scheduling, this is going to be a long haul. This is going to be a lot of tag team action. It's going to be a lot of sort of following the track of who's leading the race, who's falling behind, all of that stuff. Let's see who's actually going to be playing their part, because some of these pairings, some of these teams might not exactly be what you expect. So I mentioned there's 9 teams on either side. We're going to jump over to the red block. Our first team of 9 is the Hate team of Konami and Saya Kamitani. And what I find interesting about this is watching your video essay on Saya Kamitani, Meerkat, I actually learned that Konami submitted Saya Kamitani to become a Goddess of Stardom tag champion. And here they are years later in the Goddess of Stardom tag league together. So nice little bit of hopefully reconciliation between these two. Now, moving on from them, we've got the Neo Genesis team of Azumi and Miyu Amasaki, known as O2 Line. We also have another Hate team, Natsuko Tora and Ruaka, known as BMI 2000. We have a new team, though stylistically, I think they work together fairly well. It is a God's Eye team of Tomoka Inaba and Rana Yagami. We also have an EXV team of Maika, 5-star GP winner, former red belt champion, and Hanako. Moving on, we have a Stars team of Mayu Iwatani and Momo Kogo. We have a God's Eye team of Shuri and Saki Kashima. This is actually the most recent team to have challenged for the Goddess of Stardom title. They challenged in Korakuen Hall. They were unsuccessful. Saki Kashima was pulled from competition with injury. She appears to be returning for this tournament. And we have quite a curious team on the Cosmic Angels faction side. This team is called Tokimeki Pudding a la Mode, and it is the team of Tam Nakano and Sayaka Kurara. And we simply couldn't have a Goddess of Stardom tag league without the final red block team, FWC, Hazuki and Koguma of Stars, 3-time Goddess of Stardom champions. So they will definitely be a force to be reckoned with. So before we jump into talking about the blue block teams, I'm a little bit curious, Meerkat, looking at that that list of 9 red block teams. Is there anything there you see that you think looks cool? Is there anything that looks surprising to you? What stands out, would you say?
No, I would say like a lot of them make sense. Together. In regards to the relationship, it's fun to see Tomoka Inaba back in there doing more of the karate gimmick with Rana and Yagami, which does make sense. They both do the same. They both come from a martial arts background, so that's kind of cool. I hope Saki Kashima is will be back. I know she was injured, but I'd be interested if she recovers in time. And so yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see Momokogo in action again, though. I haven't been watching her lately. Ever since she came back from injury, I've been watching, but I know she's like worked really, really, really hard to get better.
Yeah, she's been doing a lot of training outside of the ring, and she's really giving it her all in these matches. They do have somewhat of a quasi angle with her in that she just can't seem to cross the threshold. She can't seem to get over that line.
Yeah.
And this might be her last chance. We have to actually mention something. Mayu Iwatani announced after competing in the 5-star GP this year that she was, in essence, retiring from that tournament. That was her last 5-star. This could, in turn, be her last Goddess of Stardom tag league as well, which means that Momokogo will be the last partner she ever has.
Oh, yeah.
So I think we have to expect that something of consequence will happen with the exploits of this team. And yet another reason to kind of stay glued to what they're doing.
Just having their little anime story, with Mayu Iwatani, just trying to impress her master.
Right.
And she just can't get over that training arc. She's still in that training arc. She's been in the training arc her entire Stardom career. But you know what? She's got that energy. I always said she has that face. And it's probably because I watch J dramas and they all have like the same brown, same like black hair, bright smile, like audience face. That's always reminded me of just a protagonist. So go Kumomo, basically.
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely rooting for her. She's got some kind of XP glitch because she keeps grinding and farming for XP, but there's no level up. So something's wrong. We need to consult tech support.
Well, see, in Souls though, you die and you have to go back and get your souls. But then if you die before you get your souls, you lose your souls. So you gotta win. You gotta win.
For sure. All right. Speaking of winning, let's see who is competing on the blue block side and who we think might be doing some winning. So we'll move on to the blue block teams. Probably not too much winning happening from this team, unfortunately, which is the EXV team of Waka Tsukiyama and Rion. We also have a God's Eye team of Hina and Lady C, followed up by a Hate team of Rina and Azusa Inaba. Of note, this is our current, and spoilers for the most recent New Blood show, this is our current New Blood Tag Team Championship pairing. So they have some prestige coming off of their first successful defense just last night. We have quite an entertaining team, I would hope. The Cosmic Angels team of Yuna Mizumori and Aya Sakura, followed by sort of an in and out team. I'm not sure if that's the right phrase, but we have from Neo Genesis, we have May Sarah, and from Pro Wrestling Wave, our only sort of outsider, Kohaku, with the team known as Star Fox. Another sort of prestigious team coming up from Stars is Hanan and Sayaida, the team Wingori, and kind of intriguing Neo Genesis team of Starlight Kid and Suzu Suzuki, and kind of a pivotal team following them up from Cosmic Angels. We have Natsupoi and Saori Ano, notably former Goddess of Stardom champions who were forced to vacate their belts due to Natsupoi's injury. So they have never essentially been dethroned by another team. And we have the current Goddess of Stardom champions. I believe their official name is Hate Supreme. Yeah. Momo Watanabe, and Thekla from Hate, with a little bit of an asterisk. I know you saw the press conference yourself. I saw it myself. I'm actually not too confident that this team will end up competing. It does seem that Thekla is still dealing with an injury she sustained in her attempt to dethrone Natsupoi for the Wonder of Stardom championship. She was unsuccessful, and she also sustained some rather sort of notable injury. And she mentioned that she's a maybe for this tournament. She didn't actually sign off on the fact that she would be there. She's going to try to make it. But I think there's a decent chance that this team may end up forfeiting their role in the tournament itself. Meerkat, what do you think?
Well, if I was her, I mean, she's just chilling on a vacation, just drinking and just not caring. I mean, still getting paid as champion, so why not? No, actually, I think it's interesting. I haven't seen the younger Naba sister just yet, actually. So I know that Aya Sakura girl. For some, I never watched her actually either, but she was making people laugh at the press conference for some reason. I'm not sure why. I don't know the contents behind that. I love that, but I think that was funny. I've been calling Lacey and Hina the dead carcass of Queen's Quest, so I think that's just I think it's appropriate for them to be like a little teacher student gimmick. And then let's see what else we have. Oh yeah, Starlight Kid and Suzu would be fun. But Soriano and Not Spoil are just a natural team as always. And I read a little snippet that someone posted on Twitter that apparently Soriano and Not Spoil used to be compared to Tom and Jerry for some reason, and so they used to call her Sam and Samu and Natsuri. So I think that's cute. that Not Spoil is definitely Jerry, which of course. Other than that, yeah, it's fun. I like the name Hate Supreme a lot. I've been kind of addicted to that name. It's kind of silly. It's just like an extra level of hate that they have in them, basically. So
Yeah, it's not even their final form. So everyone needs to be on notice. That's a dangerous team. They're not to be trifled with. Obviously, they're the current champs. I think they only have the one successful defense up to this point, but their role in this and whatever ends up happening with each of those characters is something I'm definitely going to be watching. Now, speaking of things I'm going to be watching, I'm going to move us over to essentially like our highlights or the teams or the angles, the characters involved that we in particular might have in mind. If there is no team that comes to mind, that's totally fine, but I'll go over a couple of mine. So I'm essentially going to be looking at one of the brand new teams and one of the longer standing teams when I talk about this. So let's just start with a team that people are pretty familiar with that I want to talk about, which is O2 Line. Now on the Neo Genesis side of things, formerly a Queen's Quest group, there are a couple of reasons I want to bring up this team as a team to watch. I don't necessarily think they're winning this tournament or anything like that, but there's more to the picture. So for those of you that don't know, Miyu Amasaki is the recently crowned Future of Stardom champion. And in her effort to take this belt and end the longest reigning Future of Stardom reign at the hands of Arena, she really showcased a new level. I was very, very impressed with the work she did. I think the fact that she presumably must be training more with people like Starlight Kid, Mei Sarah, Suzu Suzuki, they are unlocking aspects of her wrestling, of her timing, of her intensity. And I think she's showing that there are even further places for her to go. So I'm excited to see what her reign is going to do. One of the big things about this tournament is the fact that there are so many wrestlers from that rookie generation involved. On the Red Block side itself, Miyu Amasaki is going to be facing teams that have Rana Yagami involved, Hanako, Sayaka Kurara. So she may be facing some people in this tag league that end up challenging her for her Future of Stardom belt. Now, on the other side, what can be said about Azumi? You guys already know she is extremely, extremely, extremely talented. I couldn't even do justice to talk about how phenomenal she is. However, she still has kind of in her back pocket the opportunity to challenge for the IWGP Championship. And who also happens to be in this red block? Mayu Iwatani of Stars, the IWGP champion. Azumi's also going to get a chance to get some payback against Saya Kamitani at some point. And she's going to be running into people such as Tam Nakano, a person she already defeated in the 5-star GP and may be eligible to challenge for Tam Nakano's red belt. So I think there are a lot of stories that can be unlocked with the exploits of this team. So that's my choice for an existing team, a known quantity a group that we are aware of. Let's talk about a group that is just formed for the purpose of this tag league. And that team is none other than Tokimeki Pudding a la mode. I don't think people expected when they heard that Tam Nakano was going to be involved in a tag team tournament that she would be teaming with Sayaka Kurara. But this is what I like about this. I don't think you're going to get a bigger underdog in this tournament than Sayaka Kurara. Her ability to sell the distress, the pain, the struggle is almost unmatched right now. And there is no more of a hot tag that you can get than the current red belt champion, the mentor of Sayaka, the leader of Sayaka's faction, the person that inspired Sayaka to become a professional wrestler, Tam Nakano. The other dynamic going on here is that both of these individuals always make it a point to cultivate some kind of storyline with the people they face. They're not just in there to try and win a match. They are in there to build layers upon layers of storytelling and character growth. We saw Sayaka Kurara already in a program with Saya Kamitani at such a young stage of her career. She is already taking those first steps. She's the one person in this entire company that has stepped forward and taken on the role of the person that is trying to pull Saya Kamitani back to the person she used to be, back to the light side, so to speak. That storyline was available for just about anyone to jump on. And of all people, Sayaka Kurara took it by the horns and made something really cool out of it. So this team has definitely got my full attention. I don't really picture Sayaka Kurara getting a lot of wins. If this team is going to suffer losses, it will likely be at her hands for some percentage of the time. But I think it's not just about wins and losses with this team. So as we continue with this highlight segment, anything you want to bring up about this is totally up to you. If you want to talk about the press conference, if you want to talk about maybe the absence of someone like Mina Shirakawa, or the absence of some pairings that I think people might have expected that we didn't get. I think any of that stuff is fair game at this point.
Well, the pairing of Tam Nakano and Sayaka Kurara is excellent, I think. Only surely because their little outfits at the press conference where they were like, yeah, exactly. They're like that. I mean, just look at them. I mean, come on. I mean, come on. Yeah, I'm excited. I agree with what you say. Also for Sayaka, I didn't even really, like, learn that. I recently learned myself when I was looking at her past, is that she doesn't even have a sports background at all. She's an art nerd. She used to do oil painting, and she didn't even know wrestling until, like, she saw Tam Nakano versus Julia. But no, it was a Stardom show, but the thing that inspired her was Tam Nakano versus Julia at the 5-star finals, and that's what inspired her to do it. And she did it, which is so quickly. So that's really admirable. And she has a lot of heart. So I definitely think that's cool. But shout out to Azumi for being Katsumi all the time, because that's just, like, how do you elevate Azumi more? You make her a cat, and then that's how you do it. So yeah, that's about it.
Okay, fair enough. Just to give people a little bit of a visual of some of the outfits that were on display during the press conference, we had quite an assortment. And the Micah Hanako pairing as these two drinking buddies was really fun.
Yeah,
obviously the martial arts infusion of Tomoka and Rana, I think, was pretty cool. But there are a lot of highlights. So once again,
hat, the glasses, yeah,
hat, yeah, yeah, exactly. So that press conference on the Stardom official YouTube from just a few days ago, the 16th of October, definitely a worthwhile watch if you're looking to be entertained. But speaking of being entertained, I think it's time for us to go ahead and set the Goddess of Stardom Tag League aside and really get into more of a deep dive of a project that was released at the beginning of this month. And I think, Meerkat, I think you may be familiar with what I'm talking about. So let me see if I have a graphic for this. We're going to get into the video essay that you produced which is called Saya Kamitani, The Path to Hate. And I really think this warrants some discussion, some exploration. But before we just jump into asking you questions about this, just want to preface this, just want to set the table for what we're talking about. So Saya Kamitani, The Path to Hate is a video essay on your YouTube channel. Your YouTube channel is, of course, Meerkat_Ultra. It was released on October 4th, and it covers the career, the matches, and the character journey of Saya Kamitani. I mean, it's essentially a full scope, full scale picture of this person's full journey. It is 88 minutes and 12 seconds in length. It is the longest YouTube project that you have released, and it is separated into a prologue, an epilogue, and 8 chapters in between those two. This, before we even talk about this, just to give you some of your flowers on this project. First of all, incredibly impressive effort. I really appreciate the fact that you took on something so ambitious. I believe you said that you at one point thought about breaking this up into segments, and it kind of just grew and grew and grew, and you stuck with it. You followed the inspiration and you carried it through, and you released it as this just massive project. There are some things that I personally, got out of watching this. First of all, you essentially broke kayfabe a little bit with Saya Kamitani. There are moments in this video where you acknowledge your appreciation of the things she does. You even cited certain matches she's been in, certain moments that she has cultivated in which you considered her to be a perfect professional wrestler. And along the way, you pointed out things, pieces of information, pieces of research that you had worked on that pointed out things to me that I was not aware of, or that you talked about things from an angle that I had not yet considered. So I definitely appreciate that you did all of those things. But now I want to ask you some questions about this project, if that's cool with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So, I mean, the first thing I got to know going into this, when did you absolutely know for a fact that you wanted to embark on doing a Saya Kamitani project? Was there a certain thing that happened in Stardom, a certain thing you saw online? How did you get started doing this, or even thinking to do this?
Yeah, so the project in general, so it's gonna be really interesting. We're gonna get really arty here, and stuff like that, but whatever. It's always so weird. But I mean, it's when Saya turned and did the whole deceiving thing, and then I woke up and to a tweet that somebody was like, "Oh, Meerkat was right," and then I looked at it and I saw what happened, and I was like, "Oh, that happened. Okay, okay, cool, wow, um, awesome." I mean, obviously, I had to capitalize on that. I was actually gonna capitalize on like a slew of different things, but I had no idea what those things were. But I had to catch up on my current batch first. And then I realized that I needed to wait for the 5-star to end and see where enough of it to go somewhere before I decided to talk about it. And I was like, okay, I'll talk about it, and I made it basically. But yeah, you are correct. I was gonna make it into 3 segments, but I decided not to do that because the segments were uneven. Basically, the first segment was just gonna be an origin tale of that was going to be really, really stupid. Actually, literally was going to be the absurdly ridiculous, villainous, deceiving origin story of one Saya Kamitani. I don't remember the name, but and it was just going to be idiocy. It was going to be like pure Meerkat in character all the way through. About deceiving, but that would get old. I knew that would get old after minute 2, which is why in the video itself I got rid of it by minute 2. That whole bit. So I didn't do that. And then the second video was going to be the Dark Phoenix part, and then the third video was going to be an actual analysis. But I decided just to combine them all because it just made more sense that way. And plus, when I was watching and finding footage, I just so much kept happening. It's like, my God, so much more. So it just kept growing. So it's like, screw it. I thought it was gonna be 50 minutes. So yeah, when it ended up being like over an hour, I was like, okay, screw it, and just do it. If there's one thing I learned from David Lynch is that basically, who I went to school for my master's in filmmaking in Iowa. The only thing, the only thing I learned from basically, I wouldn't say that, but basically the only thing I learned, the primary thing I learned is that if you get an idea, you stick with it and you follow it. the inspiration all the way through, basically, and wherever that inspiration takes you, you just gotta go with it. Otherwise, you're not gonna enjoy it, I guess. And if I was treating this project less as content as more as art, which is what I was looking at it for, then I needed to do that. I would say. Um, in regards to breaking kayfabe, though, I do want to talk about that because I do think it's interesting. Because I do think it's cute to follow kayfabe, but whenever I'm doing video essays, I want to give these performers their flowers as performers. And in order to do that, you have to break kayfabe, and that's the only way to do it. So that's mostly why I do that. And I do that with my May Saruga video when I talked about how she is fantastic as May Saint Michelle, but kayfabe, they're not the same character at all. But if you want to give them their flowers, you have to do it. Plus, it's just, I mean, I'll do the same in movies. I don't talk about Darth Vader's freaking arc being like, oh, and not talk about the actor behind him. I don't know, terrible example. But so yeah, so I decided to make it an hour because of that. Anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's very insightful and very inspiring to hear that the lesson that was imparted to you was to see things through to the very, very final frame. So I like that. But let's talk about the first frame. Like, what's literally the first thing that you start doing? Do you start watching matches that you've seen of Saya Kamitani to refresh your memory? Do you start doing research immediately? Do you start writing out bits of narration? Like, where do you like put the first like piece of ink to paper, so to speak?
Oh, it's hard for me to work out of order. So I always start at the beginning, even if movies and scripts I write, I just start at the beginning. I might know where to go, but I have to start at the beginning. It's hard for me not to do that. In regards to where to go, to start with the actual project, it differs for each one, but for this one specifically, because I knew I was starting at the beginning, I went to the beginning. From Stardom, I went to Stardom World and typed in her name. And then I found nothing because Stardom World has a terrible search engine. But you find one thing from Saya Kamatani, and then you go into the tags under the matches, and you see Saya Kamatani there, and you can click on the tags on Stardom World, and then you get everything. And then I started all the way from the beginning, and then just moved my way up. I kind of like also use Cage Match a lot. That's the primary resource for anything. That's just the gift of the wrestling world is Cage Match, and sometimes they get treated like shit when they shouldn't. Because I people who make video essays use Cage Match religiously. So I basically used that and found all the important moments that I wanted to talk about, and kind of found the through line of the narrative there, which is how I do every longer form video essay, I would say. And then I just got all the matches, and then watched all the matches as much as I can, a lot, basically. Kind of the entire month of September was dedicated to Saya Kamatani. I didn't even watch AEW. I didn't even watch Bryan Danielson get murdered the the first time, or like the second. Oh, who got murdered? No, it was Hangman. No, Swerve. Yeah, I didn't even watch Hangman inject Swerve with like drugs or whatever it was in that syringe. I missed all that because I was watching Saya Kamatani. So, things to sacrifice to do this, but I had to. I needed to like inundate myself in that silly artisty theater kid mindset that I get into whenever I need to get into a performance, basically. And I just did the same thing. Basically, I do the same thing when I do film writing, basically. So, yeah.
That's awesome. And it seems like in that sacrifice, I checked some of your social media posts during this process, and you referenced, or I guess I should say, you mentioned that you would call this project, at least when you were working on it and getting ready to release it, essentially a culmination of everything that you've done.
Oh,
So
yeah.
can you explain yourself in saying this? What do you mean by this project, Saya Kamitani, The Path to Hate, being a culmination of everything that you've done so far?
Oh yeah, mostly just from a stylistically standpoint, like all the fade ins. I like to do the crossfade. I went in there and finessed them as much as I possibly could. Little split screens, a little experimentations I do visually. All the music choices from the Vivaldi, which any music nerds out there, I used all 4 seasons of Vivaldi in this piece. That's just me being proud of myself for that. And then near music, stuff like that. And then as well as just bringing the deceiver joke full circle for people who've watched my material all that long. I brought in some old jokes from past old Meerkat. It's a little weird because I look at my content arc that I've been in there's been a lot of soft reboots, soft rebrands that people may have not noticed and stuff like that. I've done that multiple times, and sometimes it's been really, really subtle. And then so I look at this video as kind of another one of those soft rebrands I've been doing. If you've been watching my content now, it's 5 minutes. I'm in and out because I didn't want to do a longer video anymore. And I'm kind of like maybe like doing something a little bit different with it too. So that's basically what I meant stylistically and thematically for the channel.
That's pretty cool. And I think that's actually a really good jumping off point because I do want to talk to you about music. You mentioned Vivaldi. So let's talk about the music part. There's a lot to talk about with this video essay. So forgive me if I get a little lost in the sauce here.
Please.
But in the description of the video itself, I believe I tried to count this. You cited 36 different pieces of music in this video, which is a hell of a lot. How do you even begin to start putting music to particular visuals and finding the appropriate sort of tone or the appropriate mix transitions between pieces? How do you do that?
Sure. Actually, that's fun for me. That's the funnest part of all of my videos. Anything I do is just the choosing the music, especially if it's more dramatic or like something like that. Like if it's more comedy based, it's very simple. I have select tracks that I constantly use, basically Final Fantasy music, Mario music. But if I want to like do more dramatic stuff, it's funner to use. Like for Stardom specifically, I love using classical music. It's just for me always fit. Always fit the most. But the way I do videos is to speed it up. And for an hour and a half video, it was kind of like wild to do it my usual way. But I make the skeleton first, so I edit all the audio, my narration, all of it to where it's as final as I need it to be, and then I just start making the music with the audio right away, so you can kind of just listen to it like a podcast when it's done. And then I layer the visuals over that, basically, and I kind of speed through the visuals in that way. This one's a little different because there was some little experimentation scenes that I needed to do first, like the little segment I did with the witch, actually, where I used the scene from the witch. I made that first, actually, because I needed to see if it would work. And if it didn't work, then I wouldn't write it and record it, basically. So I made that first, actually. But other than that, no, I layer the music, and then how I choose music, I don't know. It's just whatever comes to my head. Just whatever comes to it. I like a lot of classical music. I like a lot of stuff like that. I use a lot of Dreamcatcher because I used Dreamcatcher before in a Queen's Quest cage match video. But I personally love Dreamcatcher. I'm a huge fan of Dreamcatcher. So I was glad to get to use that. And also musically, I was able to do some callbacks to other stuff like Tam Nakano, for example. I got to use all three of the themes that I've constantly been using for Tam the entire way through. I was very happy about that. And same with Saya, I was able to give her like some new themes to work with. That was a lot of fun. I gave her Nier music because I heard it from Nier. Oh my god, Nier Replicant. And it's one of the newer pieces that they made specifically for the remaster, actually. And it's about a mermaid. I think it's like a mermaid story, and it's like really really sad because it's a Nier game, so it's like really really sad. I think she got left behind or something. I don't remember what it is, but it's a really, really sad like lore behind it. So I was like, oh, this is perfect. And not only is it perfect, but I found the orchestrated version, and I found the music box version, and that's okay, great, perfect. That's about it. And then I just go from there.
I'm glad you brought up Nier because we've talked about Nier. When I first interviewed you, we talked about music, and I have to mention this because you did say at some point that you reserved the use of Nier. It's not just something you throw out there. It's something that you reserve for what you consider to be the absolute best wrestlers. That's what you said then.
I don't remember.
We watched the video here. Saya Kamitani, The Path to Hate. You're using Nier music. So are you saying that you consider Saya Kamitani to be in this echelon, or have you sort of changed your position on using the music overall?
You've made me like think about how I have to maybe think about what I'm saying in interviews. So when something like this comes back at me, I'll be like, "Oh, yes."
Yeah. Is there a Nier tier? Is that like S tier?
Oh,
is it
subtlety right there? No, I knew Nier works for emotion. When I need like good S tier emotional golden music, I just go with Nier automatically, basically. And if I couldn't use that song because YouTube said no, I would have chosen something else, honestly. Yeah. So I wasn't saying anything for that, but I do like Saya, and I did say in the video that I do at times when everything clicks, she can be really perfect. And then lately with this whole new character, she's been really on fire, and pulling some really, really, really great performances. Yeah, yeah. But but if I was giving near music to all the best wrestlers, I would have given one to Miyu Watanabe before and stuff like that. So I'm not like that. Basically,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Fair
yeah.
enough. We'll linger on music just for a little bit
Sure.
longer
I like
because
music.
I looked over some of the titles of the chapters that make up this story, make up this project. Some of them are musical in nature. You talked about the classical music, Vivaldi. I think there's a reference to Stravinsky. There's a reference
Firebird,
to
yeah.
Shakespeare.
Oh, you
There's
got
an
that.
Elden
Nice.
Ring thing going on. So, is this similar to how you're scoring the project? Is that you're going off of feel? You're looking for things that thematically kind of fit? How did you even get these chapter titles to emerge? Did it happen while you were writing the project, while you were editing, afterwards?
Oh, well, I was definitely while I was writing it, I'm like, if I feel like if I'm gonna do a feature length presentation, I can be as pretentious as I want with these titles. Why not? So that's what I did basically. I just found some of obscure references to things. I can't even remember all of them at the moment, honestly. But Shakespeare was one of them. I'm glad you caught that. Yeah, and Firebird as well as two. There's two lyrics from Firebird for them. I thought that was cool. So that was it.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's great. I really
yeah.
like that.
Thanks.
All right, so you've come out the other side of making this project. You've let it out into the world. Last I checked, something like 5.5 thousand views. Seems to be doing extremely well. Congratulations
Thank you.
on all of that for sure. Um, now that you're sort of reflecting on this, can you let me know the Saya Kamitani, the wrestler, what we perceive to be the person, the performer, doing all of this work, all of this research? What's something that you learned about her, or what are some of the matches that you saw that showed you something new, showed you something unexpected? Essentially, what were you surprised to learn about Saya Kamitani over the course of making this project?
Yeah, absolutely. So I learned that her music, her theme song, her old Golden Phoenix theme song is not fun to listen to over and over and over again. I've got so many entrances of that theme song. But I did learn like a lot about her past actually. My one of my most investigated, oh look at me, I'm a journalist moment is I actually found her like the footage of her in the world hip hop competition from 2009, which I can't take credit from this from discovering that she did that. That's Stuart Fulton or whoever he was. He mentioned that on commentary. When I heard that I was like, really? So I went and looked and I couldn't find it at first, and I just kept looking and kept looking. I went to the website and like, oh, I found it. I ended up finding the footage on the Russian website somewhere. um Whatever, but I found that, and I was like, "That was really, really cool." And I thought that was really, really awesome. I even found the scorecard, so I felt like a journalist then. But no, I did find some really surprising things for like her early matches, for like her Cinderella finals with Micah was fantastic, and and also some of her early maneuvers too was surprising. Was surprising me as well with how mostly how things were going, how I thought they would be with Saya. Honestly, I was kind of more surprised of how, not to toot my own horn, how right I was, because she's so goofy sometimes, and and it really comes off of the ring how goofy she can be. And I was, but sometimes she's really really good, which is why I think she reminds me of Shelley Duvall a lot because she just reminds me of that basically. But what I don't know. I don't know. I think what I did discover more from her was no, what I did discover a lot was some of more her more powerful faces that I can recognize, and I kind of pointed out a little bit in that video, like against Tam as well. She has a lot of faces. I also learned probably the biggest takeaway might be her relationship with Tam in general. Actually, I wasn't as aware of the Stardom Idols project that Tam was a part of. That's scrubbed from history, basically. That I definitely learned. I actually spent a significant time trying to find it. I couldn't find it. But I found a lot of pictures. I found their old Twitter, the old Stardom Idols Twitter. I found Tam Nakano's old old representative Twitter as well that had different photos, older photos around that time. That yeah, it's fascinating stuff that Tam was trying to do during that time period. She was trying to really branch out and do different things actually during that time period. The whole hardcore Tam thing that she was doing. stuff like that. She was really, really branching out. Really interesting stuff.
That's really cool to hear. I definitely was thrown for a loop seeing the type of research that you had done, that early era pre-Stardom material, and that early Tam material as well. So it's cool to hear from your perspective what what those discoveries are. The sleuthing was actually like. So speaking of discoveries or uncovering things, I actually want to move us over to something I'm calling true or false. And for anybody watching, first of all, thanks for tuning into this. Feel free to chime in if you feel like in the chat, answering these questions, true or false. I'm going to talk to Meerkat, who has already demonstrated these otherworldly supernatural ability to predict the future. We're going to see how good those powers remain to be. So this is true or false. Everyone in the chat paying attention. If you have anything to contribute, feel free. All right, first one for you, Meerkat. True or false? The highest point of Saya Kamitani's career has not happened yet.
Oh, absolutely false. It has not happened yet. No, sorry. I was thinking about the moment that she lost her white belt to Mina. If I can go back real quick and just talk about the fact that the Wonder Stardom section that I did, that was like the longest section of the entire video. It's like 25 minutes. It was only supposed to be like 5 minutes, but I kept on finding fun things there, and one of the big ones was against Mina. I really liked the story that she was telling, where she was just trying to overcome basically what Will Ospreay did against MJF, trying to overcome the Storm Driver. It's the exact same story that Saya did, except she wasn't rewarded like Will was. She was rewarded with pain instead, and I really like that. So, but anyways, false. No, her highest point has not come yet. She has yet to become this master. She's still finding herself in this form. I would say she's not in her final form yet.
That's badass. One thing I really appreciated, I've gone through this video a couple times, is that, right prior to you talking about this match, obviously you talked about her final successful defense, which was the Hazuki defense. And you even said yourself, this could be her best defense. This could be her best match. But your very favorite one was the one that followed. And there's not a lot of people you could say that about. They may have had their best match, and then immediately after they had something that struck such a profound chord with you. So I think that's very telling of what she is capable, especially in these big match opportunities. I think her best storytelling seems to come out a lot of the times during these huge matches.
I did mean nice true, actually. My bad.
What's that?
I read the question wrong.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, I knew what you meant. So no big deal. No harm, no foul. Okay.
Thanks, chat.
So thank you for the save. Much appreciated. We've got more, though. So here is our next true or false question. True or false? Saya Kamitani versus Micah is a top 3 current rivalry in Stardom.
Current. God, it's so hard. I know it's so hard, honestly. I want to say no, it's not. I don't know why. I'm just feeling that way, but I can't think of anything more at the moment. But the thing about Stardom is that their character history is so rich. It's just like their relations are so rich with material. Maybe, I don't know. No, I'm gonna say no.
Okay. Is there something you could point to that they could inject into that rivalry that would change your opinion? Is there something you feel it's lacking? Like intuitively, there's just something that.
Sorry, they just got to have like more matches, I suppose. I don't know. I could be wrong though, but there probably more in current Stardom, but I can't think of any at the moment. If I'm being honest.
No problem. There's nothing on the line here. This is just purely for fun, purely for entertainment. We've got a few more for you. True or false? Saya Kamitani will remain a villain for a longer time frame than Starlight Kid before her. And I think that time frame is roughly like close to about 3 years, maybe just shy of 3 years in the case of Starlight Kid.
Well, one can argue that Saya Kamitani was always been the villain, but you know, um, no, actually, I think true. I think true. Actually, I think she will. I think she will find her footing in this, and then she will enter her next stage and be cooler as a result. I can foresee her doing this. I think she's really finding her feet in this and really finding her voice.
And she seems to be very over with the Stardom audiences locally. I think her popularity has kind of started to grow in maybe an unexpected way, which might incentivize them to keep her on this path for a longer period of time. Okay, cool answer. Cool answer. Got a couple more now. True or false? A current member of Hate will win at least one of next year's Cinderella tournament or 5-star GP tournament.
False. No. No. No, I don't think Okada likes to make the villain people win these things. I just don't see them doing that. So it'll probably be someone else. I don't know who, but someone else.
Okay. And our last one, last true or false question. True or false? Saya Kamitani and Momo Watanabe have had minimal interactions up to this point because Stardom is trying to keep their hate mutiny under wraps.
False. Momo Watanabe is in a tag team with Tekla. That's the reason. That's the reason they've had minimal interaction. Momo's in a tag team with Tekla as champions, basically. I don't think Momo's going to be leaving anytime soon. In the way people want her to move out of that. I say unfortunately because I want Momo to be bigger things, but I also like this incarnation of Momo. I think I'm in the minority in that, but I like this incarnation of Momo when she's just violent, doesn't care. But I also want her to be bigger things at the same time, and I can't have my cake and eat it at the same time. So she probably would have to leave the group to be a bigger deal. So, but no, I don't think so.
I'm still in some sense, I'm still waiting a little bit for Stardom to show us more of the interactions between Saya and basically anybody else in Hate. She's been showcased more as maybe like a solo act, especially the 5-star GP. There weren't a lot of interferences in her matches and things like that. She took people one-on-one in that tournament. And when she does do these tag teams, at least what I've seen, maybe I missed something, maybe I haven't kept up with all the matches. I haven't seen her really unite with another member of this faction. Maybe that's what's going to happen with Konami.
Yeah, exactly. So, when she's back from injury, we could always bring Fukujin Death back in there. Get Saya Kamitani team with the Clown.
Too strong. Come on, it's too OP. I don't think they should do that. That team. Oh my goodness.
Slay.
Okay. Good answers. That was pretty fun to hear your take on all of those. Moving on from this, before we jump into Q&A, is there anything else you want to bring up about the project that you want people to know about? Maybe something that we would have no idea about? Or I think you mentioned that maybe there are a couple other things you might want to bring up. I'm just going to open the floor to you before we get to Q&A, and whatever you want.
I'm glad people watched it. Really, really am. I was worried that it wouldn't gain any traction, or people wouldn't be interested in an hour and a half long Meerkat Ultra video. And in fact, I even deliberately I would put a lot of effort actually into balancing my less extreme wacky tendencies with the Meerkat voice, and try to balance it more. I look at it as more like a song and dance between me and Meerkat, as me talking normally in more my film pitch voice, I would say, when I'm pitching a film or pitching a story, that type of voice, more like this. And then the more Meerkat voice, basically, and then bring in some jokes and talk about the deceiver, Saya Kamitani, and things like that, and then just try to balance it a bit more, instead of just being outright and loud and stuff, because I know that's a tendency that people don't typically like with my work. And even though I don't care, basically I just like having fun anyways. I want people to watch this, so I wanted to be more cognizant to that. So this is probably more mainstreamy. At the same time, though, I wanted to just have fun with the editing and just see what I can do, and make some arty stuff and some fun visuals. I was very Francis Ford Coppola inspired. I watched Dracula basically before I made this thing. Actually, in fact, I edited a little Dracula review before I made this, and you can see the style in this piece, so it's all there. But that's it. That's it. Thank you for watching that. I probably never make another hour. I'll probably never make anything that long again on the channel because it was a lot. And so if I do something long again, it'll probably be 20, 30 minutes. But I won't make anything long like that until I make a movie, basically. So yeah. So thanks for watching.
Okay, looking forward to that as well. Well, once again, I thought you did a tremendous job. It's definitely worth checking out for anyone who hasn't seen it, just to get a very very unique and artful look at someone we've all seen wrestle and perform for so long in Stardom, and just to get such a cool take on things. Speaking of changing your voice and manipulating things, I thought you did a good job over nearly 90 minutes, realizing that you can't keep that that content all at one set level. So yes, there is variation in your vocal delivery. There's variation in sort of almost like genre, where it'll get very comedic and then it can start to settle and get more serious, but you don't let it get too serious for too long, for too far. You can bring it back, and I thought that was one of the strongest aspects of this. So
thank you.
All right, so now we will move on to our Q&A section. We have 3 questions already ready to go. Thank you to everyone for submitting questions ahead of the stream. I will also check the chat and do my best. If there is anyone who's going to post or has posted a question in the chat, I will try to find it. We will try to answer it. We prefer Stardom questions. So thank you. Our first question here, in typical stream fashion, is not exactly a Stardom question. It is from Paul Darwin.
Oh, Paul.
Now, not Stardom specifically, except Dump Matsumoto did team up with Hate at Nagoya Golden Fight. Would love to hear y'all's thoughts on Netflix's The Queen of Villains. I will keep it short and maybe not so sweet, not to be super disappointing. I have not yet watched The Queen of Villains. However, the promotional material, the trailer, all that looks quite good to me. And I've heard nothing but very, very good sort of like reviews or feedback about this show. So when I have the time, I'm absolutely looking forward to checking it out. How about you?
You just reminded me that I need to watch it. Oh my God, it's bad. It's so bad. It's so bad. I need to watch it. I need to watch it. The fact that it's a click away basically. And oh my God. Yeah, I need to watch it. I've been playing Like a Dragon for the first time because it was on sale. I've never played this series before, and it's so much fun. So I've been stuck on that, and it's just been taking away all my time.
Well, to your credit, you've also been making a lot of video content as well. So
yeah.
It's not the only thing you're doing. All right. Well, sorry. We're going to move on to our next question. I need to
watch it. Sorry.
Darth Orc, 1988. So I paraphrased this question a little bit. I think I got the gist of it. Didn't have enough sort of character real estate to fill in the whole question. But essentially, they'd like to know that what we think of this sort of pitch for the tag league, which is that the teams should have been more mixed. Ultimately, think of a scenario where only the Hate faction is allowed to formulate teams with Hate members, basically in group. And all of the other factions have to pair themselves with someone outside of their faction. Others are picked at random, some kind of lottery, some kind of draft. And a couple of the teams that were mentioned, Mayu Iwatani and Aya Sakura, and then Saki Kashima hiding behind the towering giant figure of Hanako. Things of that nature. And what do we think about that? I actually was thinking something similar. I really would have liked to have seen more mix-ups in this tournament in very much that way. I remember, I think it was last year's Triangle Derby. There was a team which was Maika, Himeka, and then they almost like kidnapped Lady C from Queen's Quest, and they kind of forced her to side with them, and she was always just baffled why they were so interested and why she was even allowed to be on the team. I wanted to see something like that personally. I wouldn't have gone as far as like every team has to be like that if they're not in hate, but I think maybe one team in red block, one team in blue block. We have the captains of the factions like draw straws or something, and the two captains that draw whatever special straw, they have to formulate a team that's one member of each of those two groups crossing the borders. So what do you think about this idea, or any idea you have of mixing things up?
No, that sounds fun. I mean, I like chaos, so I mean, give me some chaos. That'll be fun, but only if they have to choose the teams out in the ring and do a little special event, like either drawing straws or they have some kind of like game and they have to do it. Only then though. Make it fun. Draw straws, do pick a name out of a hat, raffle. You can get Kozakai out there and do a little raffle thing out there, and then yeah.
All right. We'll look for that Goddess Tag League 2025. I'm sure they're watching the stream. I'm sure they're very much, taking notes. So definitely looking forward to that. We have another Q&A question here. Mike Bonnet 6299. What do you think the effect of Xena's injury will be on the tournament? Well, first of all, Mina Shirakawa of EXV is already not in this tournament. She has not performed in any Stardom tournament this entire year. I brought up that graphic earlier. She was not in the Triangle Derby. She was not in the Cinderella. She was not in the 5-star, and she is not in the Goddess Tag League. So that's pointing to something, I think. Now we have Xena also out of EXV. The result has been that Rion, essentially the greenest rookie that Stardom has right now, is being pushed into service and is in this really grueling, really long tournament where she's going to be wrestling at least 8 other teams. And she's going to have a lot of ring time because, Waka can probably carry a lot of these matches, but ultimately Rena's probably going to be getting pinned more often and things like that. So I think the ramifications of that could go a lot of different ways. This could actually get more crowd support behind Rion. I think I said Rena. I meant Rion. In a more accelerated time frame than what would have happened. It also might kind of backfire in a way. It might be too much for her too soon. And depending on where EXV is going as a whole, where Mina is going, where the storylines are going, I think this could have some ripple effects. I'm not sure exactly what they had planned for Xena before this unfortunate injury, but I think there can be some sizable ramifications. We might not even know all of them, but that's kind of my intuition. How about for you?
Not too sure, honestly. I wasn't aware if she was supposed to be a part of it, so it doesn't change anything. I would say for me, but Mina, not being in a tournament, you're right. She's got plans to make a big bag, hopefully somewhere else. Big bag though, big bag. Better be. She deserves it. But clearly, clearly, she's just not wrestling a lot. Because that's what these tournaments are. Just a lot of wrestling. So go easy, girl. Whatever.
Yeah, very well said. Mina is actually, I believe, in the United Kingdom right now. She's just over there defending her British world title.
Champion.
I have spotted a question, or maybe a couple.
Questions.
Let's go to the chat here. Hopefully I do this correctly. All right. If Saya versus Tam doesn't happen at Sumo Hall, who would you be interested in seeing Tam face? I really want Tam to face Mayu. Their story is too valuable to not be revisited. Same with Mayu versus SLK and more. This question in some form actually came to us in our previous live stream. So I'm inclined to agree somewhat. I think the biggest match for Tam that is within the Stardom roster is Mayu Iwatani. I think maybe they can play around with having a series that might not only involve Dream Queendom, it could involve Wrestle Kingdom Week. If they wanted to go that route, I think they've got a little bit of play there. I also mentioned in that previous Q&A that I think if they want to, they could engineer a red belt challenge from SLK, who herself is effectively a faction leader of Neo Genesis. She is one of the absolute most popular wrestlers in Stardom. She's in the top 3 last I looked. And she's already talking about possibly challenging for the New Japan Strong title. And she's representing the future of this company, as her and all of her faction mates are a very specific, talented generation. They're very much on the younger end of the roster. So let's get her first red belt challenge. I'm not saying have her win. I'm saying have her challenge and start getting her in the conversation of, the upper tier, the red belt tier. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. How about for you?
Well, Starlight Kid, interesting thing about Starlight Kid going through Saya's career is that she tangled a lot of Starlight Kid. But the interesting about Starlight Kid is that her entire career is filled with just failure, lots of failure, lots of chances to finally get something, like 9 chances for the high speed, something like that, like a lot of numbers. And she has not won the white belt yet either after a lot of chances. So yeah, it's very unfortunate, but I would like to see her get a big shot. But no, definitely Tam versus Mayu is the biggest match you can possibly do. Of course, that just we kind of have to. Yeah, it's too epic not to, basically. But Mayu versus SOK needs to happen as well. So I see it. But again, we might not have Mayu for too long, So we need to have these big matches. Can't let these big matches go away like Julia versus Tommy.
Yeah, better to do it sooner rather than later. I have no clue, but it's possible the end of the year might be it for Mayu Iwatani and Stardom. I don't think we can overlook that as a possibility. So there are storylines that stand to be closed, or to give us some closure on, and allow other people to kind of be in Mayu's aura one last time. I think it'd be very helpful. So I like your commentary there. Let's pivot over. Impossible. Are you guys aware that Poi and Sari have started a YouTube channel together? I learned about this like maybe a day ago, maybe 2 days ago. I haven't seen anything. I know people are freaking out. It seems like it's going to be super entertaining. They seem to be very, very good friends outside of the ring. They're constantly collaborating. So I think it makes logical sense. Haven't seen anything yet myself.
Yeah, haven't seen much other than like little clips of them just being adorable. But that's cool. I actually really like them together a lot. Poi works a lot with Suri on her Suriism shows, and so they're really cool together. I like seeing the relationship, but Poi makes everything better. So what can you say?
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that, and it's hard to really top a statement like that. Meerkat has spoken. So thanks to everybody in the chat for throwing in some extra questions. I actually like these questions quite a bit. Let's go ahead and wind things down. We are going to wrap things up. So Meerkat, once again, you've been doing a number of these streams with me. Definitely been having a lot of fun chatting with you. This one was, very unique in getting to talk about like your biggest project you ever put on YouTube. And it sounds like might be the last feature-length project until we actually get a Meerkat movie, like a full-fledged production, which is very exciting to even think about that as a possibility. But while we have you here and we are closing down the stream, can you please let people know where they can find more of your work?
Sure, yeah. Just go to Meerkat Ultra on YouTube, and you can find it there. You can just find, exactly. You just look for the cartoon Meerkat. If you haven't heard my voice before, it's not actually like this. It's more like this. I go, ooh, TJPW. Yeah, something like that. I don't know. I have to warm up. And then, check it out. You can check out my Twitter, I guess. It's there. I do post on there. Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. Thank you for inviting me. These are always fun to do.
Not a problem. Glad to hear it. And to everyone in the chat, everyone watching this after the fact, you happen to find yourself here at String Six Splash. I've got a series called Red Belt Radio. Please tune into that, talking all things Stardom, the latest, the greatest, the worst, the scariest, the most exciting, the funniest. You can check me out on YouTube, obviously, and you can also find me on social media, Twitter/X at String Six Splash. The word string, the number 6, the word splash. or you can just search YouTube for Red Belt Radio to find what I have been up to. With that being said, once again, much appreciated for your time tonight, Meerkat. Much appreciated to everyone for checking this out. I hope this has been informative. I hope you guys will share your thoughts about the Tag League, about content creation, such as the video essay that Meerkat put out and other things that, you know, we as a scene overall have been working on. So we're going to sign off here. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Bye.